Hey y'all, it's Brody, and today I am here to talk to you about the Kwanzaa ReflectAthon. It was created by Njiri from Onyx Pages a couple of years ago, and this year Njiri has invited me to be an ambassador for the Kwanzaa ReflectAthon. So basically, what the Kwanzaa ReflectAthon is, it's the week of Kwanzaa, which is December 26th to January 1st, where you take a look at your reading and you reflect on things and how what you've read this year reflects the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. The first principle is Umoja, which means unity. And for this, we need to talk about a book that centered the upliftment of African-descended peoples. For this, I am going to say The Revolution of Brody Randolph by Brandy Colbert. It has a lot to do with self-empowerment and learning that you don't have to be what anyone else wants you to be. And I think the story is really beautiful. And I gave it 5 stars. I would highly suggest everyone go check out that one. The second principle of Kwanzaa is Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. And for this one, you need to talk about a book with an African-descended LGBTQ character who inspired you because they were determined AF. For this one, I am going to talk about The Deep by Rivers Solomon. The Deep by Rivers Solomon follows a mermaid, siren. Essentially, they are the aquatic descendants of the African women who were thrown overboard when they were pregnant during the slave trade. The main character's name is Yetu. I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly. And she is the historian for her people because the past is too traumatic for her people to remember. There is always a historian, and the historian is responsible for all of the memories of all of these descendants. And during a ceremony where Yetu, allows everyone to feel these things, this is something that they do, where everyone can feel the trauma and remember, she decides to swim away. Appreciate Yetu as a character who, she knows what she wants and she knows how she's been treated, and she may regret it at some points, but ultimately it's about what she needs at that moment, and it's an amazingly done story. The third principle is Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. And for this one, you have to talk about a book in which a diverse group of characters work together towards a common goal. And for this, this is my first physical copy of the video. For this, I'm going to talk about a very recent read for me. I read this in December of this year, and that is The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. I read this for the Shakespeare Book Club. This is a modern-day retelling of Twelfth Night, which follows our protagonist, Violet, who has been sent to live in the town of Lyric for the summer. Violet and her family are the descendants of the sole shipwreck survivor that basically created Lyric. They're descended from the founders of Lyric. And so Violet and her newfound friend group decide that they're going to search for the lost shipwreck of the Lyric. There are disabled characters in here. There are many neurodiverse and mentally ill characters. There are queer characters. There are characters of color. And I just love diverse friend groups in a small town setting. And it's very save the town, but not, because they're searching for the shipwreck. It's so good. It's so good. Please read it. The next principle of Kwanzaa is Ujima, which is Cooperative Economics. This is a book that got you thinking about sharing economic resources. For that, I'm going to say The Break by Katerina Vermette. This was our group pick for the Indigathon. It's a multi-perspective, multi-generational family story that follows a group of women who are all related as they respond to this tragedy that has happened in their family. Trigger warnings for sexual assault, because that's the bad thing that happens. They don't ever tell you that in the description. So basically, one of the women sees a girl getting raped in this area called The Break behind their house. It's like a flat stretch of land. And it's how all of these people who are related to each other respond to the trauma and help each other out, and how everyone kind of comes together to help this family. And I thought it was a very beautifully done story. And it got me thinking about, living in poverty and how I, grew up low class. And, it really hit home with me. And I think if I were to recommend a book to someone so they could get to know me better, that would definitely be one of them. The next principle of Kwanzaa is Nia, which is purpose. And for this, we have to talk about an African-descended character who found or developed their purpose. For this one, I'm going to talk about Queen of the Conquered by Kaysen Callender. This is one of my favorite books of the year. Queen of the Conquered is about a woman named Sigourney Rose whose entire family was murdered by colonizers whenever she was young. And she somehow escaped the fire that killed everyone and lost her home. There's a competition to see who is going to take over, the islands, and Sigourney is determined for that person. I don't really know if this is an exact right fit for this prompt, but I feel like it is, because Sigourney, learns that even though she may have good intentions with wanting to take over, and while she may not be as terrible as, the colonizers who are keeping the slaves, and she has her own agenda for it, it's interesting to see a dark character like Sigourney, because everyone in this book is dark, but it's very interesting to see the character development and the acceptance that, maybe this thing isn't for you, and maybe you need to reevaluate your purpose that she goes through. The sixth principle of Kwanzaa is Kumba, which means creativity. And for this one, you have to talk about an African-descended character who demonstrated power through creativity. And for that one, I am going to talk about Kira from Slay. Y'all, this fucking book. Slay is a young adult novel that follows Kira Johnson, straight A honor roll student at a predominantly Caucasian school, and after class, she logs in to a virtual reality online multiplayer game called Slay. And she's the creator. This book has a lot of good conversations about minorities and safe spaces, and what happens whenever people invade those safe spaces and like to twist the narrative to make minorities seem like the villain. She created this world inspired by the African diaspora. It's so beautifully written. This book, to be as short as it is, really packs a punch, and the descriptions and I fucking love this book. Seventh and final principle of Kwanzaa is Imani, which means faith. And for this, you need to talk about a book that strengthened your faith. For that, I'm going to pick It's Starting to Thunder, It's Gonna Rain. For that, I am going to pick Aphrodite Made Me Do It by Tristan Mateer. But I saw it in Barnes & Noble, and, I was like, I have some time to kill, and it's kind of short, so I sat down, I read it, I cried in the middle of the bookstore. If you're not aware, I am pagan. I work with a lot of deities, but specifically Aphrodite. I've talked about this a little bit on my channel, and Aphrodite was the first deity that I ever worked with. And reading this book as kind of an ode to her really, hit me hard. I'm kind of in a weird place right now where I have put my faith to the side in favor of, work and, real life money things that, I kind of put my faith to the side, and I've not been working with my deities as much as I would like. And reading that, I just felt her with me, and it made me feel 100% better. And also I found I could relate to the things that Aphrodite was telling the poet and the messages that she was speaking, and it just, I'm gonna cry thinking about it, but I feel like when I need to buy this, because when it comes, the comparison is there of Aphrodite Made Me Do It is to me what the Bible is to Christians. As always, you can go check the downstairs for Injiri's video, as well as the other ambassadors, a list of all of the prompts and the questions. As you know, just go check the downstairs for anything you might need. Comment question of the day. We want to talk about the last prompt, Imani, faith, and let me know a book down in the comments that strengthened your faith. Obviously, this doesn't have to be a religious text. It doesn't have to be anything specific. Just a book that, strengthened your faith and made you feel better with your beliefs. Alright, that's all I got for you today. I hope you have a wonderful, whatever it is, wherever you are. I hope you had a happy holiday, whatever it is you celebrate. If you didn't celebrate a holiday, I hope you had a great December. Alright, and I will see you next time with another video. Okay, bye.